In the year 2020, I've taken 59,586 photos.
My name is Dorsey, born and raised in Louisville.
My name is Jon Cherry, and I am a commercial photographer and photojournalist.
I got my training in photography by trial and error.
I started my photography disciplines when I was about 13 or 14 years old.
Every day is a new day, a learning day for me, although I've been in photojournalism for over 50 years. And I'm still on a mission to win that Pulitzer Prize.
I have been full-time since the COVID shutdowns. I got laid off from my job and decided that was what I needed to do to take the leap.
From the late 60s up through, like I said, the 80s, I was covering West Louisville, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
You know, this summer has been the opportunity to tell a story that not a lot of people get to see. You know, it might be thousands of people in the streets, but there's millions of people that aren't.
Your press pass is a passport. It's got me in more doors than you can imagine for just a guy from West Louisville. I've been places, done things that I ordinarily wouldn't have got to do if it wasn't with me being a journalist, a photojournalist.
Well, I've always had a passion for just meeting people that are not like me, meeting people who are like me, and just being in, like, working my way into situations that I might not otherwise be in if it wasn't for the work that I did. So, you know, photography, one of my favorite things about the camera is that it kind of gives you an excuse to be in places that other people normally aren't going to be. You know, the police would never let you get that close to them if you didn't have a camera in your hand. You know, you wouldn't get to you know, go into the hospital and see the very first COVID vaccine be administered in Kentucky if it wasn't for, you know, it being my job.
I've seen stuff this year that I had never, ever seen before.
I've seen some pretty wild stuff this year, you know, some stuff that I didn't think that, you know, I had always hoped in my lifetime that I would see eventually, but I didn't think it would actually happen. You know, a lot of police violence, a lot of unrest in the streets, but a lot of really beautiful moments too. A lot of camaraderie, people working together, and community, just overall unity. You know, lots of acts of bravery, defiance, a lot of heartbreak and just sadness and stuff that people usually don't want to see. But, you know, as photographers, as people who observe in order to tell these stories, you have to put yourself into those situations to capture it. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it.
This is not my first rodeo. Been there, done that. I covered the 68 riots following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What happened over this summer is the first time that I've ever seen anything like that. The big difference stands out to me is with the unity and the collaboration of people from all walks of life, black, white. They came together. You know, back in the days, in the civil rights days, it was mostly predominantly blacks marching, demonstrating. But this was one of the first times that people of all ethnicities came together for a common cause. And that meant a lot. That's the big difference there.
I noticed it's a lot of young folks. I'd say it's mostly young people between the age of like 18 and 30. It's a lot of young white people. And the older people that you do see are usually activists of some kind. They're like longtime activists. They've been at it for a long time, and racial justice isn't the only thing that they usually fight for.
The black militia group that came through Louisville, when they came to town, there was people 60, 70, and 80 years old. They had never seen anything like that before. Thousands of black men with weapons walking the streets of Louisville. That's the first time I ever witnessed that. First time ever This is the first time that I had an opportunity to cover it from a Black perspective through my eyes. Because if you notice, if you go back and look at all the Life magazine, Look magazine, National, whatever magazine, most of the work was done by European photographers. What happened this summer is I was recording history in real time. If I could go back and talk to some of my old friends who were photographers and show them these images and what went on and what brought me to this point, they wouldn't believe it. I mean, it's just something that I've never seen before. And I've been shooting for a long time. This was way back. This woman is holding this sign that's saying, fight racism. I'm talking about this is the 60s. We were fighting racism then, the same thing. One of the emotions that I think that stands out to me from a journalistic point of view is the day the grand jury or whoever it was came down with a verdict on not charging law enforcement with any criminal act. I mean, when they came across the loudspeakers down at Justice Park or Injustice Park, whatever you want to call it, there was so much pain and hurt in the eyes of the individuals that were standing and listening to that verdict come over the loudspeakers. I'm pretty stony. I don't talk very much. I don't say very much. Don't show a lot of emotions, but I felt something that I had never felt before by the look and pain and hurt in those individuals' faces and their eyes and the tears that ran down their face when they came over the loudspeakers. I mean, it hurt those individuals.
What was all this fighting for if nothing really ended up coming of it? You know, these cops didn't get charged with anything in relation to Breonna Taylor's death. And then also hear Daniel Cameron come up and shed his crocodile tears about the situation, which I was in the room with Daniel Cameron whenever that speech happened. I had to leave. I got the shots that I needed. I was in there for maybe 20 minutes or so. Right after the announcement, I was like, I'm going back to Louisville. I can't listen to this anymore. But you could see it on even like the white photographers and white journalist faces that were in that room. There were people that were hanging their heads and shaking their heads because they also knew, like, what are we going back to Louisville for? Like, what's going to be happening in Louisville? It's going to be a lot of really potentially upset people.
The hugging, the kissing, the crying. I mean, people that I knew had been in this struggle for a long time, some warriors. When I saw them break down and when I saw them crying, when I saw that pain and hurt in their faces, it was a bit much. That day that verdict was read, they showed compassion. The kind of emotion they would show is their immediate family members. That's what got me.
You know, it's not even really a race issue. After a while, it's kind of a humanity issue, which is why people of all races feel the need to join in. What happened to Breonna Taylor is an example of just like, this is not how we're supposed to treat our citizens in general. And the white allies of the movement recognize that, like, the Black folks in this city and all over the world have been treated unfairly and given not a fair shake at life for a long time, hundreds of years. And so a lot of the emotion that you see from those white allies might not be as in depth as it would be from some of us Black folks who are, you know, living this out every single day. And some of this stuff might even be new knowledge to some of the white kids that are out there, but you can tell that they definitely feel it. They're definitely empathetic. You see in a lot of my shots that I take, it's often I'm putting myself in some pretty hairy positions to bring people imagery that they would like never, ever, ever see if it hadn't been for somebody being there. And so, you know, for me, it's kind of trying to be unnoticed and unseen while I'm taking these photos, but I have a lot of personal relationships with the people that are out there. But we all have kind of I wouldn't say it's an agreement, but there's definitely some kind of covert contract that, you know, while I'm shooting, I'm trying to stay focused because, you know, I'm putting myself in harm's way, just in the same way that everybody else out there is. And everybody's got a job to do. Their job is to protest. My job is to take photos. The police jobs is to police the public. And so it's just, it's a role that you play that everybody kind of recognizes. And oftentimes they don't mess with you, but sometimes you do. Sometimes protesters will mess with you. Sometimes police will mess with you. Other photographers will mess with you. It's just the way it goes.
It's a thing among most established journalists, photojournalists, that we respect each other. We don't normally get in each other's way or block the shot or run into, it's an inborn, it's a natural thing to be respectful to your fellow journalists, your fellow photographers. And if we all follow that rule, there's enough pictures to go around, enough images to go around. You don't need to be, blocking someone else or getting in front of someone else.
A lot of the times I came out unharmed out of blind luck. And a lot of times I didn't come out completely unharmed. I've gotten a couple of black eyes. I've breathed in more tear gas than I care to even, mention. I've almost gotten arrested at least a dozen times. Unfortunately, I haven't been arrested yet.
To each their own. I'm not that gun-ho photographer. I'm not. I'm sorry. I can't sit around with other photographers and tell them how I hung by one arm from a 20-story building and shot pictures with my other. I'm not that person. Now, I have taken chances, and lucky that I'm still here. First rules when I go out there is that I'm not gonna bring no pain and suffering to myself if I can help it. I had too much to go home for. I had 4 kids. That was the most important thing on my mind, was to get back home to them.
It's definitely a game of I've only survived this summer because of my own intuition and because of the community that I've built of other photographers, live streamers, and folks like that.
The cell phones and the live streamers, and that's something different. And in fact, we all know, but that's great. I love those guys. I would get up, and first thing I do, turn on my computer to see who was live somewhere, but what was the latest that was going on.
A lot of people think that the folks out there in the streets protesting are all savages. They're all out there burning down the city every day. You can show people through these images and through a lot of these live streams. I don't live stream personally, but you can show them that's not quite the case. It's not the case at all.
That's why I'm dedicate my life and my legacy. I want to leave a legacy for my grandkids and my great-grandkids. I want them to one day be in a classroom looking through a book or on a computer and run across a picture and see my name on it and say, oh, that's my great-granddad. He shot that picture. That's what I'm on. And that's why I'm out there every day shooting. That's it.
I'm hopeful for Louisville's future.
I feel that we will turn that corner together. I'm proud of Louisville. I was born and raised in Louisville. I've been around the world. I joined the Navy to see the world. I've seen the world, and I always come back home. If you can't live in Louisville, you can't live anywhere.
We have, a lot of really awesome organizers. We have a lot of really giving people that kind of give me hope for the future. And you just got to, keep going. There's not a whole lot that we can do, as we are relatively outnumbered by the powers that be, other than take care of each other.
I think that we've got a great future after, everything settles down, after the pandemic is wiped out the face of the earth, that we're gonna be all right. I truly believe that.